Hello, Eagles Nation. Vincent Focht here, and welcome to a Week 8 Eagles chat. As the Eagles were able to even up the season series against the New York Giants, and while doing so, picked up their most dominant performance of the season, and also kept alive a pretty incredible stat with not allowing the New York Giants to get a victory in South Philadelphia since the year 2013. So the Eagles turned the Giants into a giant mess once again, and we're going to be talking about that giant mess coming up in a matter of moments here on Eagles Chat. But before we do so, make sure to like and subscribe to the Eagles Chat YouTube channel, as well as following us on Instagram at Chat Eagles, where you can find daily updates on your birds. You can also find our Instagram in the description of this Eagles Chat video. But now let's get right into it. We're going to first start off with, as usual, the injury update. As you can probably tell, folks, there's nothing there. It is completely blank. This is the first Eagles chat this season where no new big-time injuries came out of a game and where the injury update was, yes, completely blank. No one was ruled out during this game. So where's the confetti? Where's the streamers? Oh, yeah, it was too cheap to buy any. Well, let's just do it manually. Let's go. See my beautiful face, right? Yes, the Eagles were able to not pick up any new injuries. Now, of course, there are a couple guys that we are continuing to watch and monitor coming out of this game. Devontae Smith being one of them, as he got some medical attention on the sideline midway through the third quarter, but remained in the game. And of course, the second guy that we are monitoring coming out of this game is Saquon Barkley, who headed into the medical tent after his run to end the third quarter, but he also remained on the sideline. Of course, he had a big game, and we're going to be talking about that in a matter of moments. You already know I'm not going to ignore that by any means, right? But definitely great to see no new big-time injuries. Now, of course, yes, next week, the Eagles don't play. There is a bye week, so this is the chance for the Eagles with the occurring injuries that are still happening right now for the Birds, that are still ongoing, I should say, like Azeez Ojulari, Cam Jurgens, Dory Jackson, A.J. Brown with his hamstring injury. This gives them a chance to really heal up. So again, make sure to follow us on our Instagram page. We'll make sure to do the best we possibly can with keeping you guys updated on the Eagles injury situation, of course, as well, with guys getting back in the loop once again, like Brandon Graham, who was out this game, but that was not for injury reasons. And of course, cornerback Jacorian Bennett, another one who was ruled out, but not for injury reasons, as he's getting back into the loop of things once again. He was on full participation, but was listed out just because he's getting back into the role of the lineup once again. So what better time for the Eagles to have a bye week than right now to get their injured guys back and rocking and rolling once again, and as well, any guys who are kind of feeling a little stiff and whatnot, well, it gives them a great chance to get really rocking and rolling once again in the Eagles lineup. So again, make sure to follow us on Instagram. That way we can keep you updated on all that is going on with your Birds. But let's get into more of the nitty-gritty of this Eagles chat. And you already know where I'm going with this. And of course, I'm going to start right off with it. I'm not wasting any time. We're getting right into the rush game, which was a key factor by all means in this performance. Of course, the Eagles ran for 277 yards overall, was the best performance of the Eagles run game, period, this whole entire season. And something where, yes, you already know, let's start getting into some of our contributors, shall we? And first off, we have up here a Tank. And being a Tank, let's say his last name, Tank Bigsby, was a big-time contributor. Of course, the RB2 for the Eagles. Now, some people were saying, Will Shipley's the RB2. Well, I think the way we saw the Tank play today, he is definitely earned a spot as RB2, as this was something where he made some incredible carries. He had 104 yards total on the ground, but something where the big play that everyone is talking about and the most impressive run that everyone is talking about is the pickup of a first down on a 2nd and 26. And according to Yahoo Sports, Tanks Bigsby, with this 29-yard carry on 2nd and 26, is the first running back for a rushing conversion of 2nd and 25 plus since James Starks did it in 2015. So what a stat that is. This is something where, again, when I saw that, and I'm sure a lot of other Eagles fans are thinking the exact same way, where, well, this drive is over. And that's exactly what I thought. And this is something where I'm like, oh, here goes the momentum, out the window. It was after a big sack. I'm like, you know what? This is it. Well, he proved me wrong, and absolutely, they call him a Tank for a reason. He absolutely bowls over guys. He could probably also be called the Bull at this point because, I mean, his performance, being able to find the gaps, and even when he finds the gaps, he makes his own gaps, for God's sakes. This is an incredible performance by this RB2. The pickup from Jacksonville was a big way, and of course, they got him originally because they thought, okay, let's get him in here as a returner. Well, he's done a little bit more than be a returner. He's been an extremely strong rusher for the Birds, and on the big way, showed it right here, one heck of a performance by the Tank. Great, I have to say it. But of course, now moving into, you already know who we have coming up next, excuse me, is, of course, Saquon Barkley. Now, you already know where I'm going with this. I hope you know. But this is something, again, Saquon Barkley had one incredible game, of course, was able to help the run game. And, of course, he got his first game over 100 yards rushing since last year with that Washington Commanders matchup in the playoffs. Yes, that was the last time he had over 100 rushing yards in a game, and Saquon Barkley was able to do it again finally today with having 14 attempts carried for 150 yards. And of course, the 65-yard long was that touchdown on just the second play of the game. And that was something great to see, that explosive play, something we didn't see a lot of at all this season. And some could even argue that was the first explosive play period with the run game this season. If you argue that, well, you'd probably be right. But this is something where great to see Barkley rocking and rolling once again. As I mentioned, Bigsby had 104 rushing yards, but he had it on 9 attempts. He had a 29-yard long, which was that one we were talking about on that 2nd and 26 conversion. So again, the Eagles' run game showed up. The blocking also showed up. And this is something where I feel like the guys up front don't get enough credit, as they don't seem to, in general in football, get enough credit. But the O-line with good blocks on different screens, the Barkley was just doing a good job building those plays up into a game plan, being conscious of the rush that was coming at the Eagles. This was something where they seemed prepared. They seemed ready to play. And something where you can't say that happens all the time with the Eagles, especially the way they've been playing recently. Yeah, they kind of come in seeming sometimes like they're not ready to go in certain periods of the game. I mean, again, this is probably the first game all season. I'll argue it is the first game of the season where the Eagles played all 4 quarters. And look what happens when you do so. You end up running over teams once again. So great sight to see. Excuse me once again. But this is something where you finally had confidence in the Eagles offense. When they went out there and you saw them setting up, you were confident where, okay, this drive isn't just going to end with either nothing or 3 points. Don't get me wrong. They got 3 points at the end of some of the drives, but it's better than nothing. But still, they were able to complete a lot better. And of course, speaking of Eagles with the most 60-plus yards in rushing, going back to Saquon Barkley, yes, since 2000, you have, and this is including playoffs, Saquon Barkley with 8, Miles Sanders with 3, Brian Westbrook with 3, and of course, Bryce Brown with 2. That is Eagles running back since the year 2000. Again, like I said, including playoffs, with 60-plus yard rushing touchdowns. So Barkley leading the way in a big time way, I should say, right there. Great to see from Saquon. It's so nice to see him really getting that explosive plays, getting the blocks and getting the gaps. Of course, you saw in that second play of the game, the gaps were there. He took it. Great blocking. And of course, you already know, once it gets out in the open, his speed, no one can match. And that's exactly what we saw coming up. What we saw this afternoon, I should say. Hopefully we see more of it coming up, but that's exactly where we stand, of course, at this point in time. But excuse me again, man, I just can't believe it. My throat is deciding to completely go out on me because of how well the Eagles played. We just got nothing can believe it. We can't believe how well the Eagles played. But overall, it wasn't just the rushing, okay? I mean, of course, the rush game had a big time game. We already know that. Of course, 277 yards, like I mentioned. But we have to go into, of course, the pass game. And this is something where a lot of Eagles fans argued going into these past 2 games, I should say, with Kevin Patullo running a balanced offense with 50-50. You get the pass game going at times, you get the rush game going at times. And that's why the Eagles were so good last year. And that's what a good football offense is being kind of that confusing factor of, okay, you're going to bring your linebackers up, you're going to stack the box. Okay, we'll just kill you with the pass. Oh, your linebackers are back, you're clogging up the secondary. We'll kill you with the run game, or we'll also kill you with the short pass game with those cross routes. That's exactly what we saw during today. The ability for the Eagles to get the ball out with the short passes, and as well utilizing the run game when necessary, not doing these ridiculous run plays when it's just, I mean, when you're at a 3rd and long or whatnot. I mean, of course, look at me talking. I was just talking about how well Bigsby did on a 2nd and 25, for God's sakes. But excuse me once again. But yeah, still so great to see the 50-50 play type of offense returning once again and showing why it's so hard to defend the Eagles and why the Eagles got so far they did last year, because that was the similar type of offense they ran, where if you're going to stop them in one place, they're going to kill you at the other. And since they'll hurt you so much with the other, they'll have to learn how to defend that. And the next thing you know, they're back defending either the run game again or back to defending the pass game again. Defenses end up getting confused, not knowing how to set up. And that's exactly what we saw today with a very, very confused Giants defense. Now, of course, we already know, and I'm not going to ignore it, the Giants had some guys out in some key areas, of course, with their cornerback, Paulson Adebo, out with a knee injury, their defensive lineman, Chauncey Goldston, out with a neck injury, and their safety, Javon Holland, out with a knee injury, which really killed them. So I'm not going to ignore that. The Giants had some big-time injuries, but overall, the Eagles were able to take advantage where they saw most. And again, it was a good 50-50 play offense where you had passing when necessary, you had rushing when necessary. And speaking of passing, this is something where I yapped enough on the rush game. Let's get into the passing. Dallas Goedert, a guy that definitely has to be mentioned on the offense, on how he played. And yes, Goedert definitely showed up. On National Tight Ends Day, what better day for Goedert to have an incredible show out, of course, with having 2 touchdowns. But not only did he have 2 touchdowns, he now has a career high with touchdowns of 7 in the season so far. Of course, he broke that with having number 6, but he got 2 touchdown grabs today, so that increases it to 7. Congratulations to Dallas Goedert. He had the 17-yard touchdown, and he had the 6-yard touchdown. So, again, the Eagles utilizing Dallas Goedert in the red zone. It's not the first time, obviously. They've done it many times prior to the season. We saw it multiple times in the Chiefs matchup as well. And just the Eagles being able to find him, Jalen Hurts being able to find Goedert around the middle section of the red zone every single time. And, of course, Goedert right there to pick off the pass. Great to see. Goedert, career high. Congratulations to him by all means. Great to see. But, of course, overall, once again, this is something where, of course, the Eagles offense on all sides, like I mentioned, it was one heck of a performance and something where they definitely should be proud of themselves. Of course, rushing Barkley, you already know, had 150 rushing yards like I was mentioning not that long ago. This was an overall great game. Of course, for receiving in general, Devontae Smith didn't get a touchdown, but he still had a good game with 6 receptions for 84 yards. And Dotson, of course, with only having 1 catch, but that 1 catch ended up being a big catch, as that really sealed the deal at the very end, where he got a 40-yard touchdown. And not only did he get a 40-yard touchdown, but it was an absolute moss, as he completely mossed the Giants' reverse safety, Makari Page. It was pretty much a jump ball at the end of the day. He jumped up, he picked it, and was able to get it in for a touchdown. It was kind of one of those situations where it was a long ball for the Eagles, but Jahan Dotson just out-muscled Makari Page, was able to come down with it. Again, a 40-yard touchdown grab. It was great to see, and that right there pretty much sealed the deal for the Eagles, as you already knew right there at that point in time, the Eagles had it. Eagles fans could finally lay off that heart medication, that blood pressure medication, to see that the Birds had a comfortable win. Finally, it's like the first one this season where we can actually relax at the end of an Eagles game and not be uptight in the fourth quarter. So definitely great to see. But of course, now moving on to Jalen Hurts' play. Now, of course, overall for Hurts, he continued to play lights out footballs. He went 15 for 20 for 179 yards and 4 touchdowns. And not just did he have 4 touchdowns, but he also almost had another perfect passer rating. That would have been one heck of a stat for a first time of having back-to-back games with almost a perfect passer rating. If it did happen with back-to-back games, yeah, that would have been something the NFL would be talking about for, let's just say, a long time. But yes, he finished with a 141.5 passer rating. Last week he had 158.3, but still, one heck of a performance. Again, with the short passes, Hurts was able to show up a lot more with, and something where he's been improving with. At the beginning of the season was something where the short passes weren't really there. Of course, you can argue that's how the offense was called, but his ability to look downfield, read the field, when he's in the scrambling situation, be able to get the ball downfield, he just has seemed to improve more and more every single game, and these past 2 games have been absolutely incredible from Hurts. Great to see him finding his receivers downfield. And of course, a quote coming in from Hurts was, "I don't think there's anything that we can't do," Hurts said. "It's a matter of we're working towards it and working in it the right way." Great to see the confidence from Hurts. QB1, MVP, Super Bowl MVP. We'll see if he can continue these winning ways and continue playing like he is. Who knows what he'll be able to accomplish. Hopefully it's something big. Excuse me. But overall, 15 out of 20 for, of course, 179 passing yards. And still absolutely great to see Hurts performing at the level that he is playing on. It's great. Something where hopefully we can continue to see it. His ability to read the defense, step up in the pocket, be able to find his guys downfield. Again, like I just mentioned, I don't want to sound like too much of a broken record, but to see QB1 over here playing as well as he is, that's a great sight to see. Congratulations to him on an incredible performance. But of course, moving on now to the defense. And this is something where I only have one word to describe how this defense played today, and that was pressure. The Eagles were all over the New York Giants. And of course, at the very end of the game, that was kind of a garbage time touchdown where the Eagles pretty much had all of their secondary in. So I'm not necessarily going to count that too much, but they held the defense held the Giants to 13 points regularly. Of course, you had great plays. You had 5 sacks overall. Jalen Carter being able to pick up his first sack of the season. Of course, you had others like Jalen Hunt, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, and Zach Bond also got in on the fun on sacking Jackson Dart. In my opinion, they probably had some more opportunities to sack Dart, but you already know how Jackson Dart is. He's a very, very slippery quarterback, and something where they definitely showed it yesterday, this past afternoon, where picking up Jackson Dart is not an easy task to do. He's a pretty slippery guy, and he definitely showed that a couple weeks ago where he was absolutely torching the Eagles. Well, let's just say that didn't happen this time. The Eagles defense was cued in on him a lot more. They did a great job with spying him this time, unlike 2 weeks ago, and it was definitely a great performance to see from him overall. Great to see him performing back at this, great to see the Eagles defense performing back at this level. What am I talking about? I'm going to try to give him some positive vibes. I don't want to do that, right? But still, a great performance. We also saw guys like Nakobe Dean starting to step up more as, again, Nakobe Dean started as an off-ball linebacker and based with Jihad Campbell at the edge defender position. But again, great to see Nakobe Dean back. Of course, you had Nakobe Dean at the linebacker position, Zach Bond there. Jihad Campbell is another one of those switch players like we discussed a million times, right? But still, great to see overall this defense step up when necessary. The linebackers step up when necessary, and they were a lot better tonight with being able to have an answer to that Giants run. Of course, Cam Skattebo, we all know the situation that happened with him. My thoughts and prayers go out to him. That very nasty looking ankle injury. I'm not going to describe it anymore because it was not a good sight to see. So again, thoughts and prayers go out to him. When you see an injury that bad, you can only think, hopefully it does not affect his career too much. He is most likely out for the remainder of the season. But again, thoughts and prayers from Eagles Chat out to him and his family. This is something where it's very unfortunate at this time. One heck of a talented kid right there. Hopefully he will be back in the NFL for years to come, and hopefully will heal up quick and come back stronger than ever before. Nothing but love for Cam Skattebo of the New York Giants. So prayers out to him. But of course, overall, great game by the Eagles, being able to stop the run game, being able to plug up those gaps, being able to stack the box, fill those rushing gaps for New York, not allowing them to get any type of rhythm really going. They had some okay rushes, but overall, compared to 2 weeks ago to now, completely two different stories, I should say. And of course, 2 weeks ago, the Eagles didn't have Jalen Carter, and you could obviously see that big-time loss with him not there compared to when he is there. No better comparison to what we saw today of what happens when Carter is there and what happens when he is not there. So great to see Jalen Carter back doing his job and doing it at a high level, picking up, again, his first sack of the season. But that's pretty much all here coming up for this past Week 8 Eagles Chat, right? The Eagles were able to get the job done. And, of course, coming up here for the defensive spotlight, I have, not a surprise, Jalen Carter for picking up his first sack of the season. Hopefully it's one of many more, as yes, folks, Eagles, like I said, no game next week. The Week 10 will be their next game as they have the Week 9 bye week. Probably no better time to have a bye week than right now to make sure those injuries heal up with the guys that are currently out for the Eagles, like, of course, Cam Jurgens, A.J. Brown, Azeez Ojulari, to get those guys rocking and rolling once again, as well like to get guys like Jacorian Bennett and Brandon Graham back in the loop of things once again. So hopefully this week 9 bye week treats the Eagles well. And of course, they have, as you see right here, Monday Night Football against the Green Bay Packers, November 10th. They don't play again until next month. That's crazy. Again, Monday Night Football, 8:15 p.m. start time at Lambeau Field in Green Bay. So we'll see what the Eagles are able to do coming up in Green Bay. Again, Lambeau Field, no easy place to play. But again, the Eagles, not just do they get a bye week, but they also get a good amount of time off going into week 10 as, yes, Monday Night Football, the last game that plays. So definitely great to see. Hopefully the Eagles can utilize this time off, try to fix things up with the offense and defense. Even though they played well, there were still some little things off here and there. Hopefully the coaching staff comes together, gets those little issues fixed up, and hopefully when the Eagles come back from their bye week for the second half of the NFL regular season, week 9 is the halfway point. Hopefully the Eagles will be absolutely running through teams going through the second half of the NFL season. That's all for me here for the Week 8 Eagles chat. Eagles are able to dominate the New York Giants to even out the season series and pick up the W, improving to 6-2. That's all for me. And as always, go Birds! Have a good rest of your week, everyone. We'll have updates going through the Week 9 bye week. We won't just go away. We'll be here and continue to keep you guys updated at Eagles Chat. Have a good one, folks.